Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the CEO of Hemlane. How you doing, Dana?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, something I want to talk about today, given our first two conversations, is something in your complete package. I believe that's what it's called. And that is basically leasing agents. Something that hopefully people have realized in the first two episodes is I'm not a big fan of just letting somebody in your property without boots on the ground there. So the fact that you offer leasing agents is awesome. I think we should probably show people how to find out if their city or area is covered. But the fact that you offer leasing agents as part of the platform is pretty cool, in my opinion.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. And a lot of people have questions about the leasing agents, right? What is the leasing agent? What do they do? What do they not do? And a leasing agent finds and places a tenant. Most of ours, majority of them are also qualified to help with turnover repairs because they're there from after the tenants move out to making sure when they hand over the keys that they're like the property's ready to go. And you want the same person to do that because they've built a relationship with that tenant. They were the one showing the property and really selling the tenant on the property. And you don't want them to hand over the keys and be like, oh yeah, turnover coordination wasn't mine. It was a remote landlord and they missed something. You don't want that. And so we also have them do the turnover coordination to make sure the property is move-in ready and the tenants are happy. When the keys are handed over, what they were sold is what they get. But with that, a leasing agent is not a property manager. So once the keys are handed over, the leasing agent is not there to respond to tenant inquiries or anything like that. But it's a fantastic way when you're building your boots on the ground from your repair team to who's going to be there for turnovers. You must have a leasing agent and they have to be licensed. There's very few states where you can have some unlicensed person go out to your property. Like Idaho is one where you don't need a license property management.
Didn't know.
But most states require it. And so you cannot have Joe Smo go out and do your leasing and qualify tenants for you. You definitely need someone licensed. And so that's something we promote. One of the big things that we're huge fans of is not locking you into Hemlane being your leasing agent. So we partner with brokerages and we don't care who we work with. We don't give them cutbacks. In other words, we're not trying to say, oh, Michael, you'll give us money. We'll rank you at the top of Hemlane. Rankings are all based on reviews. Every time a landlord works with a leasing agent, we ask them, how did they do? It's not shared with them. We're putting in the back end of the system. And then we're connecting those leasing agents with more owners. The more reviews they get, the more they get connected. But it's a personality, just like the services business. Like you said, it's personality. I've seen leasing agents where one owner loves them. Another owner says, oh, I didn't really like working with them. They're not my style. I love this other agent on Hemlane. So there's no one size fits all. I mean, we work with agents who work at Berkshire Hathaway, Keller Williams, Remax, local property managers. We'll work with them all. It doesn't matter. It's just finding someone who works with your style and what you want and need, and just making sure they're very responsive to both tenants as well as to you.
Yeah, and again, I think again, for me, if you know anything about my story, it's all about building that boots on the ground. It's a big part of the course. And again, if you buy, lots of people are buying out of state these days. They're going to try to self-manage. They're leveraging Hemlane. But folks, you got to get the complete package because I got to tell you, you got to have boots on the ground for the leasing process. You got to start right. All right, if you go in and you find somebody, a professional tenant, because you just tried to do it over the phone, it's going to be a bad outcome. So get the boots on the ground, right? If you're still building that, and maybe in a year or two, you've got your team, great. But a lot of you have bought a property and you're building the team second. You might want to get a leasing agent on your team right away.
Yeah. And some quick tips on the leasing agent side is if you want to bring your own, that's fine. Like we can work with a leasing agent you have. We'll work with anyone. They're added for free. So it's not like, hey, we have to work with agents just on Hemlane. We'll work with anyone. And then a lot of times I've noticed those who purchase properties from people who focus on real estate investors, which is what you want in your realtor. You want someone who understands rental rates and cap rates. When you do, a lot of them will actually lease your property at no additional cost for the first leasing. And you can ask them that because for them, they're making the commission on the sale. And so they say, yeah, we'll just bundle that in. And so it's also another great way. I've seen real estate investors save some money and actually align incentives, because sometimes you have a realtor who sells you a property and says, this property is fantastic. You can get $1,600 in monthly rent. Look at the numbers. It's great. And then it gets passed over to a property manager or another leasing agent who says, no. This is $1,400 monthly rent. And suddenly
your numbers don't look good.
Numbers don't look good anymore. And so from that perspective, I've actually found like if they can do what they say and get a tenant within 30 days and they think it's a hot property and they can get this rental rate and you've done your homework to say, yes, all of these numbers make sense. This is a great deal. Then everyone's happy and it's a win-win from there.
Yeah, very cool. Well, do me a favor. A lot of people in the course have gone through your trial. They're playing with the 30-day POC or free trial. Where should they go to kind of look and see if you have leasing agents for their area?
Yeah. So on our website, if you go to hemlane.com and Hemlane's in the corner here up here. If you go to hemlane.com at the top, it says locations. So you can go ahead and type in your city to see if we have agents in that city. And there's some cities where we don't, but any MSA over 100,000 in population will have an agent. We have over 1,300 agents on the platform.
Oh, wow.
But if you're in, a very small town, there's a large chance we won't have a qualified leasing agent, in which case we would be working with partners and telling you, hey, we don't have a leasing agent. We're going to need to find someone, but we've never worked with them. So we
can't validate.
We can qualify them as much as possible, but we can't really confirm that they're going to be good. We haven't seen.
This is the first time for both of us.
Exactly. Or you can bring in your own leasing agent from the realtor you used to buy the property, or if you know someone locally.
Again, folks, if you're in the course, we talk about buy box focused daily discipline, but when you get later in the course, we're talking about building your network. So why not go to Hemlane, type in your city, see if it's there or not. Maybe you get a chance to network with some folks. So pretty powerful stuff. Any closing comments about these 3 videos, Dana?
Yeah, I think they all tie back to that. You need someone on the ground, right? The self showings and having tenants do self tourings. It is a fantastic concept, but you also have to think about the lease, the legality of things.
Yeah, I just don't see the upside. I don't see the upside.
Yeah, that's why people are always shocked by my answer, and that they're like, you're in technology and innovative, and shouldn't you be promoting this? And I think I've just been through too many cases where I've seen it not work well. And so I've had hesitations. I have people say, well, why don't you integrate Nest? You used to work at Nest. Why don't you integrate it into Hemlane? I said, we don't want to give the false, to have false advertising that you could just do that, especially with how many remote owners are using Hemlane. We definitely want to let them know they need people there.
Yeah, again, I get that a lot, right? Because we're both in the Valley, right? And tech is what we've lived and breathed for decades. But being a landlord's a service business. It's a customer service business. It's a people business. I've been writing about that since my first book. And technology doesn't help. It's still a people business. You still got to meet them. You're still going to interact. You need to build a relationship. You're likely going to be dealing with each other perhaps for years. My average, once I get a tenant in a house, is almost 8 years. So I'm going to start that as early as possible. And I don't actually want to show the tenant that, there's very little upside, and the downside is horrific, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think where technology really helps in property management is connections, connecting great local support, making sure they've been reviewed and vetted, transparency to everyone, being able to use your phone and do face-to-face videos with the agent, things like that. I think technology works for, but automating everything is never going to happen in real estate. Yeah.
I think the operations, like once you say yes, technology can take over because you've done the work, you've done the qualification, you've built the relationship. Technology takes over, i.e. Hemlane takes over, but no, it's a people business. So that's it. And again, folks, there is a 30-day trial for Hemlane. Go to hemlane.com, take it, play with it. If you're in my course, there's actually videos on how Dana would go through the 30-day trial. And if you're in my free course, I think it's like a 15-page PDF you can print out and go through it as well. So Dana, thank you for all you do. Have a wonderful week.
Great. Thank you. You too, Michael.
Thanks.